Anybody recognize that? I bet a few of you do. I'm going to keep it a little secret now. That'll be our first name that tune for September 16th. We are well into fall here. Things have cooled down a little bit. That was a piece in an unusual tuning by one of my favorite guitar players. But something that also shows really requires some independent motion of your left-hand fingers. There are songs that I love like this. Fish and Blues is one of them. Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You. Hanging on to notes while others moving early. This one. Anyway, the reason those are even fresh on my mind is my friend Max over at Totally Electric Guitars just put together a free lesson on stretching exercises and left-hand independence. So there's a link in the text to this that will take you to it. So I encourage you to check it out because people ask me about that sometimes. Do I do any complicated left-hand exercises? And I think, well, I don't really, but I play some songs that need a lot of it. Another one of my favorites. Wow, 5 quick little tunes in just a few minutes. Here's another good left-hand exercise one, not as independent. Because usually in this, yeah, you're moving everything at the same time. It doesn't have things like in Judy, where you have to hold a note down while you do a pull-off, then you move to a bass note, now you move your second finger, then you move your fourth finger, then you keep your fourth finger there while you move more of your second finger to the bass. Then you hang on to that bass note, you add your first and third fingers, then you keep your third finger where it is, and add a couple of other things. So that kind of overlapping motion is something that happens in many songs. It doesn't happen in Beret, which I'm not sure why that went into that. So ignore that. Maybe someday I'll come back and like cut out those little parts or do some editing. Yeah, like that's going to happen. Anyway, I encourage you to check out Max's left-hand exercise video. And what else has been going on around here? A couple cool things on the forum. It was fun seeing Bill after camp do a little performance there in New York. And what else? The Fire and Rain thing. Yes, that James Taylor's updated thing on. He'd seen a lot more things now since 1970 when he wrote that song. But of course, he's 45 years older now. Anyway, glad somebody brought that up too. This week, you know what book I have sitting here? Something I have 2 copies of. One of my most valued prized possessions is this Guitar Fingerpicking Styles book by Happy Traum. And it had, there are probably a half a dozen songs in here that have now become lessons at TG. Doc's Guitar, Deep River Blues, Candyman, Mississippi John Hurt. Take a look. I'm not sure if I did those John Fahey ones. Fish and Blues is from this. And they even include, and there's a version of, there's Dill Pickle Rag. I don't know if I can remember that one. That's it, something like that. This is dumb. I should be looking at it and trying to instead of trying to remember it. But what else is in that book is something that sort of became a theme for this week, and maybe it'll carry over even into next week. I'm thinking about really expanding this this freight train thing. I know when I did the lesson many years ago on freight train, I just sort of threw it together without trying to be too accurate. It was a little in depth. I think I was accurate, but I had a lot of fun researching this a little bit more. Thanks mostly to my friend Dave, who put together, has this great song, Kindred Spirits, that we may take a look at that pretty soon too. So, but his tribute to Libba Cotten and memory of playing with her as a young young man is just really cool. So I hope everybody's checked out that video now that got added to the Freight Train announcement. But yeah, Freight Train is one of those songs that gets played lots of different ways. It can be simple the way I had it, the way if you just put the melody together. It can get a lot more elaborate. Anyway, fun song, and as I checked out a lot of other versions of it, we may have to follow it up with how Joan Baez played it. Peter, Paul, and Mary, not so much probably. I think we listened to that a little bit in Ed's lesson on it. Fred's lesson this week was on this, so I don't think we have too much of that going. Anyway, but the Freight Train lesson, might have to take a look at what Joan Baez did, even what Chet Atkins did, which Tommy Emmanuel has a nice little take on that. So let's see, what else happened around here this week? I do have a little IGC news coming up in just a minute. I'm going to wrap this up in a few minutes, but first I'm going to see if I can... Anyway, I want to thank Vanessa for putting together a really cool lesson on Guy Clark's tune, LA Freeway, that was around here something that was pretty big hit, for at least for Jerry Jeff Walker. Guy's version didn't get a lot of airplay. Jerry Jeff Walker, I think, kind of had one that did though. So that was pretty cool. So thanks, Vanessa. Nice lesson. And let's see. Last thing I want to get to today is camp. We do have for next year. I know it seems kind of early, but it's filling up fast. So August 21st to the 25th is for sure now, and the IGC page is updated. So if you're thinking about joining us, check it out soon. And we will hold it to 40. We can maybe stretch it to 45 this year. It will kind of depend. So we'll have to see how it goes. But I know that most people who were here last year are planning on coming back. So if you're thinking about it, you might have to really jump on it. So the IGC website, internationalguitarcamp.com, has got some of the updated information, and at least info on pricing and dates and all that kind of stuff. So I hope many of you will think about joining us, and who knows, we're trying to figure out a way to take this on the road, or at least part of it, and get some of it in other parts of the country. I don't know that we can have the full, like, barbecue that happens at my house couldn't happen probably if we're going to do this in Denver. But and what else have I been playing lately? Not really too much. Anybody figure out what song that was, by the way, at the beginning yet? Brush up on this one. Something I'm playing at tomorrow, and they had a real specific set of songs they wanted to hear instrumental versions of things, even stuff like that's one of them. What else do they want to hear? That's another one. And not surprisingly, might have to work on that, turn it into a lesson. But there's some pretty cool versions of that out there. But maybe an instrumental version in D to match the Over the Rainbow thing. Completely different feel than we've heard with the little upbeat ukulele sound. But I think I'm out of here. Let me see if I had anything else I want to talk about. Nope, not today. Hope to be back next week if all goes well. Doing the usual stuff. Hope everybody gets some nice playing in this weekend and enjoys the weather and playing the guitar and life at TG. See ya. So long.